Growing up an only child in a no-frills kind of family, I learned early to make do and dream big. My folks did their best, giving me a shot at a decent education. They said, "Elise, make something of yourself." So, I did. I chased a career in fashion design. College was where the world opened up. It was there I met Jake, another hopeful designer with as much grit as talent. We hit it off over sketches and sewing machines, pulling all-nighters in the studio, talking about the brands we admired and the designs we'd one day make. "You've got a wild mind, Elise. Ever think of starting your own line?" Jake asked one night, his eyes bright with the kind of enthusiasm that was infectious. "Why not? Let's make something that shakes up the racks," I shot back, half joking, half serious. We married right after graduation. It was a simple affair, just a few close friends and family. Our vows were more promises of mutual support and future dreams than anything else. In creativity and in quiet, for designs and deadlines, that sort of thing. Tragedy struck not long after, when I lost both my parents to a sudden flu epidemics. It was a brutal time, but in the wake of that loss came an unexpected inheritance, a house and $300,000. It was bittersweet, the kind of money you never want because of how it comes. But it gave us a starting point. "Let's not let this go to waste. We could start that line we always talk about," Jake said one night, as we sat surrounded by old fabric samples and sketches. So, we started our clothing manufacturing company right out of the inherited house. I handled the creative side, sketching and sewing our first prototypes, while Jake managed the business aspects. When our first collection sold out faster than we could have hoped, we knew we were onto something. "It's happening, Jake. They love our designs." I knew they would. "You're amazing, babe," he said, and I could tell he meant every word. Our success was one thing, but our family was another. When our first child was born, I was terrified of how I'd balance motherhood with our burgeoning business. But as it turned out, I was more capable than I gave myself credit for. Holding a baby in one arm and sketching with the other, "You're a marvel," Jake would say as he watched me juggle feeding times with fabric selections. The arrival of our second child only strengthened my resolve. Our little family was growing, just like our business. Each milestone for our kids mirrored a new achievement with our company, a fitting metaphor for the life we were building. Nights were long, and the work was hard, but laughter and love filled our home. We celebrated each success, whether it was our toddler's first steps or a rave review of our latest collection. Jake and I, we were a team in both the diapers and the designs. After 15 years, the rhythm of our lives seemed to have settled into a predictable routine. I poured my soul into our company, the kids, and maintaining the home we'd built from scratch. Meanwhile, Jake's role in the business had him jetting off more frequently to negotiate deals with fabric suppliers and vendors. Each year, his trips grew longer, his departures quicker, and his returns less enthusiastic. I'd shove away the nagging thoughts that something was off. It was just the stress, I told myself. We were both under a lot of pressure, trying to juggle business and family. I focused on making our home a happy one, keeping the kids upbeat and the company thriving. But things between Jake and me had cooled considerably. We barely shared a few words at dinner, and at some point, we started sleeping in separate beds. One rainy evening, while Jake was supposedly on another business trip, I got a call from my friend Marissa. Her voice was hesitant over the phone. "Elise, I didn't know whether to tell you. I saw Jake downtown today." "Oh? Probably just another meeting," I tried to brush it off, my heart not quite in it. "No, Elise. He wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him. They seemed close." That conversation knocked the wind out of me. My first instinct was denial, but the seed of doubt had been planted, and it festered. When Jake came back, the atmosphere was tense. I decided it was time to confront the elephant in the room. One evening, as we sat in the unnervingly quiet living room, I turned to him, my voice steadier than I felt. "Jake, are you seeing someone else?" He didn't even seem surprised by the question. Instead, there was a resignation in his eyes as he nodded slowly. Yes. The simplicity of his admission felt like a slap. How long? My voice was a mix of anger and hurt. A few months, he admitted, avoiding my gaze. I wasn't sure how to tell you. It just happened. Just happened, I scoffed, the pain turning into fury. Things like this don't just happen, Jake. You made a choice. He didn't argue, just looked at me with a sort of tired acceptance. What do you want to do? I thought of our kids, our home, and all the dreams we'd built together. But this betrayal was too deep, the gap too wide to bridge. I want a divorce. To my surprise, he didn't protest. If that's what you want, I won't fight you. That was it. After 15 years, our marriage was ending not with a fight, but with a weary resignation. We split everything down the middle, half the company, the house stayed with me, and we co-parented the kids. The process was painfully efficient, as if we were just dissolving another business deal. Life post-divorce was a jumble of ups and downs. The house was quieter, and the kids, sensing the change, clung to me more than ever. I threw myself into work and parenting, my every waking hour dedicated to keeping everything afloat. One Saturday, at a local community event, a friend introduced me to Michael. He was a widower with a soft smile and a gentle manner that put me at ease. He had a little girl, Lily, who was about the same age as my youngest. Elise, meet Michael. Michael, Elise here runs her own fashion line. My friend chirped, bridging the gap between us. Michael extended his hand, his grip warm. Nice to meet you, Elise. I've heard great things about your designs. I chuckled, brushing off the compliment. Thanks, but it's really just a lot of late nights and caffeine. We hit it off, chatting about everything from parenting to our careers. Michael was a lawyer, practical and grounded, a stark contrast to my creative whirlwind life. Must be tough, running a business and managing 2 kids on your own, he said, his tone tinged with empathy. It's a circus, but we manage. What about you? How's it handling parenting solo? I asked, genuinely curious. He sighed, a wistful look crossing his face. It's not easy. Lily misses her mom a lot. But we're getting through, one day at a time. Our friendship blossomed from there. We'd meet for coffee, the kids played together, and having someone who understood the trials of single parenting was refreshing. Michael was different, his steady presence a comfort that I hadn't realized I needed. A few months in, while the kids were busy with a movie, Michael and I sat on the porch, the evening air cool and comforting. Elise, I've been meaning to ask, he began, hesitating slightly. Would you be interested in, maybe, going out sometime? Just the 2 of us? I paused, the question catching me off guard. It had been a long time since I'd considered dating. Are you sure that's a good idea? We're both kind of a package deal with our kids. He smiled. That's exactly why. We both get it, the whole package. It just makes sense. Dating Michael was a breath of fresh air. He was considerate and honest, qualities I'd come to value highly. The kids adored him, and Lily, with her cheerful chatter and bright eyes, won over my heart too. One evening, as we all had dinner together, Michael looked across the table at me, a serious look on his face. Elise, I know this might be soon, but I feel like it's right. How would you feel about making this a more permanent arrangement? I looked around at our blended family, laughter and chatter filling the air, and I felt a warmth spread through me. Michael, I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. We married quietly, a simple ceremony with the kids and a few close friends. It wasn't just a new chapter, it was a whole new book. A chance at happiness I hadn't dared to hope for. It was a seemingly normal afternoon until my phone rang, jarring me from my work. Seeing Jake's name flash on the screen sent a wave of unease through me. I answered reluctantly. Elise, I'm filing a lawsuit against you, Jake's voice, brimming with hostility, cut through the line. You got more than your fair share in the divorce. I've got the best lawyers now, thanks to my new father-in-law. We're going to make sure I get what I deserve, and I'm not just stopping there, I'm going to take everything from you. His words were like a cold slap. You can't be serious, Jake. We settled everything fairly. He scoffed. Fair? You think you left me any choice back then? You're going to pay for that. You were never a good wife, and now you're going to learn what happens when you mess with me. The call ended with his smug laughter, leaving me shaking and in tears. Michael found me like that, crumpled in the corner of our living room. Babe, what's wrong? His voice was laced with concern as he knelt beside me. I wiped my eyes, struggling to steady my voice. It's Jake. He's suing me, says he wants to take everything. He claims I cheated him in the divorce. Michael's face hardened. He won't get away with this, Elise. I'll take this to court myself. We'll fight him, and we'll win. He has no ground to stand on. His assurance was a small comfort, but the storm was just beginning. Weeks later, the situation exploded again, this time publicly. I was at the school, just picked up the kids when I saw Jake and his new wife, Jessica, smirking in the parking lot. Jessica caught my eye, her look one of pure malice. Looking pretty rough, Elise. Guess Michael's going to run off soon too, huh? Just like Jake did. Her words stung, and I clenched my fists, trying to keep my cool in front of the kids. Jake chimed in, his voice loud enough for others to hear. Yeah, Elise. Look at you, and these kids. Maybe I should take them too, since you can't seem to handle anything right. The murmurs from other parents were audible, my humiliation complete. You need to shut your mouth, Jake. Not in front of the kids, I hissed, anger boiling over. He just laughed, a sound so cold it made my skin crawl. What, can't handle the truth? See you in court, Elise. They walked away, leaving me there, seething and humiliated. But the fire inside me had been stoked. This wasn't just about defending my assets anymore, it was about protecting my dignity and my children's future. We need to dig deeper, Michael. There's more to this than just a lawsuit. I want to know what he's really up to, I said when I got home. Michael agreed immediately. Let's get someone on this. A private investigator, someone who can uncover whatever Jake's hiding. We found a reputable PI the next day, someone with a knack for discretion and thoroughness. I briefed him on everything, Jake's sudden lawsuit, the threats, his new life, everything. Mr. Thompson, I want to know who he's really dealing with, what he's doing with his business, everything, I instructed. The PI nodded, jotting down notes. I'll get on it right away. You'll know everything soon. The past few weeks felt like a whirlwind of stress and suspense as we waited for any news from the private investigator. When my phone finally rang with an update, my heart was pounding so hard I could barely speak. Mrs. Michaels, I have some concerning findings about your ex-husband, Mr. Thompson, started without preamble. Tell me everything, I said, steeling myself for the worst. Well, it appears Jake has been involved in multiple questionable activities. Most disturbingly, he's currently having an affair with an underage girl. I have solid proof of this. I sat stunned, a mix of disgust and anger boiling inside me. That's horrible. Can we use this in court? There's more, Mr. Thompson continued. I've also uncovered that he's been undermining your business. He's been secretly approaching your clients and key employees, offering them better deals to move over to him. The depths of his betrayal cut deep. He's trying to destroy me and my company, I muttered, fury replacing shock. Yes, and there's evidence of him trying to tarnish your brand too. He purchased a batch of cheap, low-quality products and released them under your brand name to damage your reputation. After hanging up, I immediately forwarded the details about Jake's affair to his current wife, Jessica, who had mocked me at the school parking lot. It was a petty move, but she needed to see the kind of man she was defending. Within hours, my phone rang. It was Jessica, sobbing uncontrollably. Elise, I'm so sorry. I saw the emails. How could he? I was horrible to you, and all along, Jake was. Jessica, calm down, I interrupted, my anger softening a bit at her distress. Look, what's done is done. I believe you didn't know. She sniffled. I want to help you, Elise. I want to get back at him. He's been lying to us both. I hesitated, then agreed to meet her at a local cafe. When we sat down, Jessica slid a folder across the table. These are documents and emails from Jake. He's been diverting clients from your company to his. He's planning to ruin you completely. Flipping through the documents, the scale of Jake's treachery became painfully clear. He had set a trap to discredit me and take over my business at a fraction of its value. I looked up from the papers, meeting her eyes. Jessica, thanks for bringing this to me. Let's not tell Jake we know. We need a plan. She nodded, wiping away a tear. Anything you need, Elise. I'm with you. As the date for the court hearing drew closer, the alliance between Jessica and me solidified into something unexpectedly powerful. We met frequently, strategizing over coffee in the same little cafe where we first plotted against Jake. Jessica was surprisingly forthright, a stark contrast to the woman who had once mocked me. Elise, I brought more emails today. Look at these, she said one afternoon, sliding a stack of papers across the table. They detail every step he planned to take against you. I sifted through the documents, my eyes scanning the damning evidence. This is gold, Jessica. With this, we can really show the court what he's been up to. She nodded, a determined look on her face. I can't believe I was so blind. But I'm in this now. Let's take him down. Our meetings weren't just about sharing information, they were about building a bond over our mutual betrayal. One day, as we were wrapping up, Jessica sighed, a weary sound. You know, I used to think he left you because you weren't good enough. Now I see he's the one who's not good enough. Realizing that Jake's deceit could not only tarnish my personal life but also destroy my business, I knew I had to take drastic measures to safeguard the trust we had built over the years with our clients and suppliers. I called an urgent meeting, pulling together all our major stakeholders, explaining that the integrity of our brand was under threat due to Jake's underhanded tactics. Sitting at the head of the conference table, I looked around at the familiar faces, some of whom I'd worked with for years. Thank you all for coming at short notice, I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. I'm sure you're aware of some rumors and unsettling news circulating about our company. Today, I want to set the record straight. I explained everything, how Jake had been secretly sabotaging the company by dealing with low-quality products and trying to poach our clients under the guise of offering better deals. He has even gone as far as to distribute fake products under our brand, aiming to ruin our reputation, I disclosed, the room filling with murmurs of shock and disbelief. I am here to affirm our commitment to quality and transparency, I continued. We are taking immediate steps to address these issues, including offering verifications for any product sold under our brand and compensation for anyone who has received these substandard goods. The faces around the table nodded, some visibly relieved to hear our proactive approach. After the meeting, many came up to me, expressing their support and appreciation for the transparency. We've always valued your leadership and your products, Elise, one longtime supplier said. We're with you, not just in good times, but also when things get tough. Fueled by the support, I decided to take the message public. We crafted a post for social media, alerting our customers to the possibility of fakes and outlining how they could verify the authenticity of their purchases. The response was overwhelmingly positive, with many customers expressing their support and appreciation for our honesty. As I scrolled through the comments, a sense of pride washed over me. We were more than just a brand, we were a community, and this ordeal had only made our bond stronger. When Jake called out of the blue proposing a settlement meeting, I was curious. He suggested a downtown restaurant, neutral territory. Michael, my steadfast supporter, came with me. When we arrived, Jake and Jessica were already seated. As we sat down, the air was thick with tension, a stark contrast to the clinking of glasses and the low hum of other diners enjoying their evening. Jake wasted no time in laying out his terms. "I've decided to be generous and forgive you, Elise," he started, his voice dripping with a condescension that made my skin crawl. "All I ask in return is for your best clients and a small compensation of $1 million. The audacity of his demand was so outrageous that I couldn't help but laugh. "You're joking, right?" I looked him straight in the eyes, my amusement fading to steel. "Not only will I not give you anything, but I'm also suing you, Jake. For libel and copyright infringement. We have all the evidence we need to back it up." His smug smile faltered, but he quickly regained his composure. "Oh, please. You think you can scare me? Jessica's father has lined up the best lawyers money can buy." As he finished his threat, Jessica, who had been silent until now, stood abruptly. Her chair scraped loudly against the floor, drawing a few glances from nearby tables. "Actually, Jake," she said, her voice clear and surprisingly calm, "I won't be funding your legal adventures anymore. I know about the affair, and about the underage girl. I'm filing for divorce." She reached into her purse, pulling out a stack of papers, and threw them on the table in front of him. "These are the divorce papers. My father is disgusted by your actions, and his lawyers are ready to support me, not you, in exposing your immorality." Jake's face went pale, his eyes darting from the papers to Jessica and back, as if he couldn't decide which was more damning. He started to speak, to plead, but Jessica turned to me. "Elise, I'm sorry for everything. I was blind, but now I see exactly who he is." Her eyes were sad but resolute. "I understand why you left him. I'm leaving him too." With that, she walked out of the restaurant, leaving a stunned silence in her wake. Jake looked around, his earlier bravado evaporating into desperation. He fell to his knees, begging. "Please, don't let this get out. Think of my career, my life." We walked out, leaving Jake kneeling on the restaurant floor, and I felt a surge of relief mixed with triumph. So, Jake's attempts to undermine me had not only failed but backfired spectacularly. The court found him guilty of unfair competition and ordered him to pay me compensation. His reputation was in shambles, and his business dealings had left his company not just unstable, but ultimately bankrupt. In a twist of fate, I was given the opportunity to buy out his company. It was a strategic move, expanding my own business and solidifying my standing in the industry. It felt like reclaiming a part of my past that Jake had tried to tarnish. One morning, as I sat in my office looking over the new designs for the upcoming season, Michael popped his head in, a grin on his face. "Hey, you've got a minute?" I looked up, smiling back. "For you? Always. What's up?" He walked over and leaned against my desk, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "I was thinking, now that all this mess with Jake is over, why don't we do something fun? Just you, me, and the kids. A week of sun, sand, and no business talk. Just family time." As we started planning our little getaway, the phone rang. I answered, expecting another business call, but was surprised to hear Jessica on the other end. "Elise, hi. I just wanted to check in with you," she started, her voice hesitant. "Jessica, hi. It's good to hear from you. How are you holding up?" I asked, genuine concern in my voice. "I'm doing okay, considering. The divorce is moving forward, and it's messy, but freeing, in a way," she replied, a small laugh escaping her. "I'm glad to hear you're finding some peace in all this," I said. "And thank you, again, for everything. We couldn't have resolved this without your help." After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair, reflecting on how dramatically things had changed. From adversaries to allies, the journey with Jessica had been unexpected but profoundly impactful. Later that day, I gathered my team at the office to announce the good news about the stability returning to our operations and to celebrate the loyalty and hard work everyone had shown through the tough times. "As you all know, it's been a rough 6 months," I started, looking around at the assembled group of faces, some weary but all supportive. "But we've come through stronger than ever. And it's all thanks to your dedication and resilience. The meeting ended with an impromptu party, cakes and drinks appearing as everyone relaxed and shared a moment of collective relief. That night, at home with Michael and the kids, I felt a contentment I hadn't known in a long time. We sat around the dinner table, laughing and talking about our upcoming trip to the beach. This chapter of our lives was closed, not with regret but with a newfound appreciation for the bonds that had been tested and strengthened. It was time for new memories, new joys, and a renewed sense of peace.